Okay, there. Now you can see me. You can't hear me. And there. There we go. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm super excited to be here with you today doing some watercolor and stuff. First, please forgive me. It was so insanely busy here last night, and I talked to so many people, and my throat is so dry today. And so I have a piece of gum in my mouth, which I usually don't do while we're broadcasting, but if I don't have gum in my mouth today, I'm probably gonna like choke and die. So I do have some gum. Yeah, so I've got, you can see the paintings on the wall here. I am actually working on editing some photos. Let me see if I can, I'll show you one. Let me just do it here real quick. I edited a couple of them, so I can show you at least one or two. And then, I don't know, some of you I think noticed, some of you have not, but I did start a new Instagram account simply for my personal paintings. So if you search, you can just search Jane Font on Instagram and you'll find it. And I'm going to be posting all of them over there. So here is one of them that you can't see. Why? There we go. Now you can see it. So that's right here where my finger is. It's just a little 6x6. Yeah, so it was pretty exciting. We had so many people through here last night. It was, I haven't heard final numbers yet, so I don't know how many people came through, but it felt like a trillion. And, you know, several times throughout the night, I had maybe 10 or 12 people in here at once, which is a lot for this space. And yeah, it was nuts. So I stood on my feet for 6 hours and did nothing but talk to people. So I'm tired. I actually got up super late this morning. For me, I didn't wake up until like 8:30, which I'm usually out of bed by like 5:30, 5:45. So that was late, and I feel like I've been punched in the face. So I apologize if I look really rough. I had to put my hair in a ponytail because I looked like I just got out of bed, which I kind of just did. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a lag. Probably it shouldn't be any more than about 10 to 15 seconds, but it depends. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Hopefully it's not too bad. But keep an eye out. As I get these edited, I will post them in Discord, and I'll be posting them on my new Instagram account, which I'm trying not to promote that one too much because I don't want, you know, like my typical audience to be confused by that, to wonder, why do I have two different ones? Do the paintings on my new one, are they going to be tutorials? Are you allowed to copy them? Things like that. I want to try and keep a little bit of separation there, but yeah. But so you guys know, there is another one, and you are free to check that out. But no, they will not be tutorials. Those ones are not available for copying, etc., etc., etc. So, hello everybody who just came in while I was rambling. Yeah, shall we do some watercolor? So one thing that I was kind of thinking about is to do some color field work. And if you guys aren't familiar with color field work, look up, I think most of you are familiar with like Mark Rothko, and that's M-A-R-C, I believe, M-A-R-C Rothko, R-O-T-H-K-O. Mark Rothko is an artist who does what are called color fields, and I haven't edited any of my color field. I have at least one that's an actual color field. Let me see, maybe I haven't edited it, so it might look like junk, but here is, oh, this photo's huge. Here's one of my paintings that I did that I think is probably my closest to an actual color field. So a lot of people, you either love Mark Rothko or you hate Mark Rothko. You know, I hear people all the time, I could do that, my 3-year-old could do that, it looks like my 4-year-old did that, you know, stuff like that. But the thing about Mark Rothko is, you know, cameras don't really do justice to paintings, especially transparent paintings. A camera is really going to take a picture of what it sees, you know, the top layer. But when you layer paint, especially when you've got some transparency in there, it becomes very deep. And even if you don't perceive, you know, the individual colors that are back there, they add to the complexity of what you do see on the surface, and a camera can't pick that up. So from what I've heard, I've yet to see one in person. Mark Rothko's paintings are something that is really to be believed. If you know, you have to see it to believe it. And I've heard of people breaking down crying while standing in front of a Mark Rothko painting. So it seems very simple, you know, it's like a band of pink, a band of orange, a band of red. And it's like, so I could do that. But the thing is, he has layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of transparent colors that are all building to this final presentation that you see. And I'm really inspired by color field work. I love, love, love color fields. And I think it's a really interesting way to kind of present a mood or an emotion, or, you know, to take a landscape and simplify it down to the final colors, just to say, like in this painting here, I kind of perceive this to be as like the sky up at the top. Clearly there's some trees. The red at the bottom, for me, felt like a field of flowers. So like the little splatters in the bottom corner, it's just splattery paint, but I did that as a way to represent kind of the abstract detail shape of flowers. So while it looks like a wall, it's like straight up and down, the red part, you know, that's part of the whole color field thing. So it's just like breaking down a landscape into its very simplest shapes and colors. And it's way harder than it looks. And it's something you really kind of have to feel. You can't go, for me anyway, I can't go into it real deliberate and be like, I'm going to do this color, then this color, then this color, and I'm going to end on this color. It's more about experimenting. This color, okay, what just happened there? How can I change that color? I can change it by putting this color over it. Now, how can I change that? And, you know, doing that and just having it end up being what it ends up being. So, no failing. You didn't fail at it, Deb. But, you know, continuing with it, because every time you make a mistake, you did just learn something. Let's say that you wanted to layer some quinacridone over some blue so you could get purple. And you did it, but you didn't get the purple that you were looking for. It ended up darker, or it ended up, the quinacridone showed more or something. Now you know what happens when you layer those two colors over each other. Keep that information and you can access it later. That might be exactly what you're looking for in another painting. And the more you do it, I've noticed, because that's what I've been doing all month, the more you do it, the more you instinctively know, this color's too bright. I need to put this color over it because it's going to push it down into this color, which is what I really want. So it's really about experience. Excuse me, guys. Yes, drying is key at certain points in layering. If you are not patient enough to let things dry, you are going to end up with a muddy mess. Trial and error, absolutely, and that's how you're going to learn. Can you texture watercolor paper? Diane, that's a really good question. Yes, you can. So you can do it a couple of ways. You can use gesso, plain gesso. You could use modeling paste, the same type of modeling paste I've been using. There are also watercolor grounds. that's like gesso specifically made for watercolor. Daniel Smith actually makes a few in different colors, but I've never used them, but I know that he makes them. Put it on with a palette knife, let it dry. Yeah, you absolutely can. And that's a good idea. I hadn't even thought about doing that today. So now I'm gonna have to try that. Thanks, Diane. I don't have time to let it dry right this minute though. So anyway, that is my rant about color fields. So why don't we do it? We'll just experiment and see what happens. So I have, this is my Canson, it's a 4x6, I'm sorry. And it's the block. So remember the block, it's glued down on all edges, all the way around has the glue. So I don't have to stretch this or tape it down, and it won't buckle and curl up. And then when it's dry, I can just peel it off. So remember guys, while I'm painting, it's really hard for me to keep up with chat. So if I have ignored a question you're asking, please wait until you can tell I'm looking at the camera or the computer, and then ask again. Maybe put it in all caps. Yeah, these are kind of hard to find sometimes. For a long time, Blick didn't have them because they said Canson just wasn't sending it to them. They didn't have them on their website or anything. But there's a lot of brands that make blocks. Blick makes blocks. There's Arches that makes blocks. Canson makes blocks in a lot of different sizes. But yeah, blocks are great, great. And I love the little sizes. I don't know what it is. I like to paint little with watercolor. So let's do something here. What I think I'm gonna do first is maybe just kind of decide. Actually, I'm gonna do it with paint. I was gonna do it with a pencil, but I don't think, aha, I'm gonna do it with paint and a pencil. Somebody said, I'm sorry, I just like saw it in passing. Somebody said I didn't know that you could layer with watercolor. So it really depends on the paint that you're using. Some are gonna lift more, and if it lifts a lot, you can't really layer it. However, the Inktense pencils, once they dry, you cannot lift them. So you can put them down and then layer them, absolutely. So I'm gonna grab, all of my Inktense got out of order because I dropped it like a dummy and they all fell out. That's the outliner. I just want a gray or a neutrally color. What is this? That sounds like a good color. Iron blue, just in case you have the Inktense and you're wanting to follow along. I'm gonna experiment with the iron blue. So I've got some water, and I'm gonna decide where I want the horizon. I personally, okay, let's talk about the rule of thirds real quick. We've talked about this before. I'm gonna do it on the back here. That's not gonna work. I don't wanna waste a piece of paper. We'll use pencils. All right, so rule of thirds, it's just a good place to start. It's not like rule. You don't have to follow the rule. Tammy, trust me, I did almost have a mental breakdown when 72 of the pencils got out of order because I like to keep things in order. So now I'm like, they're just out of order and I just have to deal with it. All right, so rule of thirds is a good thing to think about when you're trying to come up with a composition. You know, rather than just slapping something dead center, which you can do, but you know, you just want to consider it first. So the rule of thirds says you take your surface and you break it into 3 equal portions this way and 3 equal portions this way. And that's roughly equal. And the rule of thirds states that wherever your subject is, it's more interesting typically if you place it at the junction. So one of those 4 points. So if you're doing like a vase with flowers, you might put the vase here with the flower that you really want to look at, maybe over here. So it kind of creates a look like that. You don't want to just have a vase with your flower smack dab in the center there. That's going to be awkward. Typically, you want to place things dead center when you want them to seem imposing, something that you want to seem very, maybe not scary, but just grand. Or, you know, a lot of times religious icons, they're very dead center because it makes you feel a little bit humbled to them. An image that's very scary might be very dead center because it's very awkward. It makes you feel uncomfortable. So just consider that. Now, like I said, it's not a rule, a hard and fast rule. It's just something to consider. So I like to look and find my rule of thirds, my third points, and then decide how far off from that do I want to be. So I would say put your oh man, you guys, my brain is just dead today. Your horizon here or your horizon here. For me, occasionally, when I am, you don't have these yet, Michelle? Wow. I feel like the rule of thirds is a little bit stiff for me for a lot of horizons. So I like to push my horizon way low sometimes, way, way low, or push my horizon way, way high. Just consider, what do you want? If you want to paint a field of flowers under a blue sky, maybe you want just a little sliver of blue and you want a bright, intense color down through here for the flowers. Or maybe you want a vast, really billowy, stormy looking sky. Then maybe you want just a tiny sliver of the ground and this huge, dark, imposing sky. So let me show you an example of that I did recently. I actually have one where I have just a sliver of ground and the rest of it is just this imposing dark sky. No, don't do that. It's gotta be rotated. I think it's upside down. It's upside down. Okay. Now, so as you can see there, I just have a little sliver of ground at the bottom and the rest of it is sky. So that's what I mean. Just kind of start with your third and then adjust it from there to whatever feels right for you. Ask me to say what's mandatory. No, I'm never going to tell Michelle or anybody that buying something is mandatory. Let's go with a high horizon. I'm going to place it just above my rule of thirds. I'm just going to sketch it on there. I kind of like the little vignette type thing where it's, you know, darker in the corners, kind of pulls you into the center a bit. So I'm just going to lightly scumble some in here. And guys, be thinking about what colors you want to see. I have no idea. I just wanted to lecture you about color fields for a minute, but you guys tell me what you want to see. What kind of colors should we do? What do you want to happen in here? Maybe I'll do a little bit of it up here too. I love vignettes in paintings. It really, a vignette like that can really help focus your viewer where you want them to look. You know, if they feel kind of pushed in with this dark, with these dark corners, they feel pushed into the middle, you can easily direct them to look at what you want them to look at, even if it's not, you know, a real obvious subject or real obviously on your rule of thirds lines. So I think that's good. I'm going to go with my 5/8 inch filbert. I'm going to wet it and just loosely start kind of swiping it. So this is just going to be a way to give me an idea of where I want to put everything. And some clean water. There we go. Okay, what do you guys want? Use something that feels profound but hopeful. I understand that, Jennifer. And honestly, for me, when you push horizons super, super high or super, super low, to me, that kind of feels like it kind of gives that element of profundity. I don't know if I just made that word up or maybe it doesn't mean what I think, but I think you know what I'm saying. Good, Debbie. I'm so glad that the finger painting was good for you. Guys, I seriously, I can't get enough of it. I feel like I never want to paint exclusively with a brush again. My hands are, look at that. I look like a lizard. And I swear I wash my hands. I have washed my hands so much. I just look so gross. Oh, Tammy, you're sweet. Okay, Editor Vince says profundity is a real word. Yes. Let's do, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What if we do something along the lines of that, that painting that I showed you with the bright, like magenta at the bottom and the blue in the sky? What if we do something like that? I think, because I really love that painting and I feel like I've wanted to do a watercolor version of it, but I'm still open to your ideas. So shout them out if you got them. All right, I think I'm gonna use, this is the Daniel Smith Cerulean. Any cerulean will work. Any blue will work. It's just a soft color. I'm just gonna get a little bit of it. And be super loose. You know, don't feel like you have to cover edge to edge. Just swipe. Let's get some magenta. And I'm gonna start that down here too. I think that's a good place to start. Do you have to work from light to dark with watercolor? It is, yeah, it's typically advised that you do because, you know, most watercolor is not opaque. You're fine. Caps is a good way to get my attention so that I can see your question. Most watercolor is not opaque and will not cover, you know, darker colors. There are some that will, but yeah, typically I would say you definitely want to work from light to dark. I do like to use, I don't know what this color is here. I like to use white gouache because that will cover darker colors pretty well, not perfectly, but it'll cover it pretty well. And, you know, then you have a little bit more freedom there, but this is Prussian. Again, I like that whole vignette thing. So I'm gonna pull that darker color down the edges, wash off my brush, and then I'm just gonna soften those lines. I'm just kind of smearing them. There. We'll let that kind of dry before we do much else with it. Let's see. Ooh, let's get some yellow down in this corner here. So I'm using the Daniel Smith New Gamboge. Gamboge is my jam. So this is the New Gamboge right here. It looks very orange, but it's really not. See, it's quite yellow. Just kind of scatter it up in there. Masking fluid. You know, I have some masking fluid, but I haven't used it. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. The smell is pretty aggressive. Masking fluid. I bought it, but I haven't used it because it just doesn't. I haven't thought of a way to use it in with the way that I paint. I feel like it would just be more work than than I need to deal with. Let's put something in the sky that's not blue. Because keeping too much just solid blue in the sky for me makes it seem a little phony. So what I'm going to do is I've got this color here. It's called Pymonite Genuine. And I'm going to get just a little bit of that, and I'm going to mix it in right here and just kind of pick up whatever that is. I don't clean off my palette. There we go. And then you can even take your paper towel and just kind of daub it. If you want to keep it like lighter in an area and it's starting to get too dark, just barely touching. If you touch, push down too hard, you're just going to take everything off. I'm just going to lighten it a little bit. Wait for the green. Oh, blue and brown is the best colors together. I absolutely love to mix blue and brown. I love to layer blue and brown. They're just, they work so wonderfully together. Let's get some purple. I have quinacridone purple and amethyst. I'm gonna get amethyst. I really love amethyst. It's a little bit sparkly, which is nice because it has real crushed up amethyst in it. I'm just gonna keep that right here at the horizon, kind of vignette it just a little bit. Clean damp brush, and I'm just gonna break up that line. Let's get some more of that quinacridone in there. And we'll vignette with this quinacridone here. It does kind of look like clouds, doesn't it? Where I daubed it off a little bit. And in fact, I want to keep a bit of that mixture in there. Just a little bit. I'm just going to kind of touch and let it move wherever it wants to move. And that can maybe look a little bit like clouds. This color kind of granulates a bit. Do you see how it's getting a little bit textured in there? It looks sandy. It's just the elements in the watercolor kind of separating and settling. And I really love granulating paints. I cleaned and then dried my brush off on the paper towel. I just want to break this up without introducing much more water. Yeah, I do have water and alcohol in a spray bottle. I don't have them with me. I just moved all my watercolor stuff here yesterday. Until yesterday, it was still at home. But yeah, I like to use water and rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol adds some really interesting texture because it repels the paint, kind of pushes it to the side. And the water, is just a nice way to spread a little extra moisture. But it can also repel the paint a bit, a little bit more purple. And because I don't like these kind of fairy tale bright colors, I'm going to grab a bit of that Pymonite mixture that I put in the sky. Brown brings everything down to earth a little bit. Remember that. Brown brings it down to earth. If you're ever painting something and you're like, oh, This looks like Crayola colors. It's too bright. I need something a little bit more, you know, natural feeling. Add a little brown. See, it's still purple, but it's not like, you know, unicorn cupcake purple. Let's get a bit more of that quinacridone. A little bit more of that gamboge. Quinacridone. And then I'm just gonna clean and dry my brush again and then nudge them together. Using the edge of my brush, see that? Rather than flat. Let's actually grab a hint of that and just keep that little vignette right there. Darken that bit. Looks like South Dakota. Nope, nothing about new brushes. I have not done anything. Seriously, I've been in 100% chaos mode for the entire month. And anything not directly related to getting ready for the grand opening has been completely neglected. I'm gonna grab this color because I really like that. I have no idea what makes it up. So if you ask, I'm just gonna shrug my shoulders, but I like it. So I'm gonna grab some of that. And I'm gonna throw some of that up in here. Yeah. I'll even let it bleed down into here a bit. Man, whatever that color is, I love it. That's kind of the problem with painting like this is, you know, where I don't ever clean off my palette and I just kind of grab colors. If I grab something that's already in my palette and I like it, I will never be able to make it again. I just want to break that line just a little bit. I think throw a little hint of that pimonite down in here too. That yellow is just a bit too aggressive. Again, it's like that unicorn cupcake type color. Okay, let's let this dry for a minute. I'm super, super, super loving the sky. Not quite there here yet, but we'll get there. Let's let it dry for a few minutes. While we do, I have other paper. Do you guys have anything, any ideas that you want me to work on while this dries? Any questions about anything? This shouldn't be too long and then we can work on that one again, but yeah, I think vignettes are super fun. They're really an effective way, like I said, to kind of pull you into what you want people to look at. So for example, on this one, see how the sky, it's all dark. It's like circling this one little spot. See how the horizon is so dark right there. The sky right here is the brightest part of the entire thing. And it's where the brightest part and the darkest part meet, where your attention is going to be drawn. So now looking at this, I'm going to make sure that this part of the sky stays really, really bright, as pale as can be. And I'm going to make sure that this part of the horizon is really, really dark. It's going to be one of the darkest parts of the horizon. And I'm going to put my subject right there. And that's where you're going to look. And so it's pretty close to my 1/3 this way and pretty close to it that way. But it's at the conjunction of the lightest and the darkest value touching that's going to cause the most drama. and it's going to cause you to look at that the most. So I have decided that's where my subject is going. So that is really what my goal has been with all of these paintings here. I know you can't see real well, and I'll get you some images today. But you can see all of them. They're all quite dark, but then they've got really bright points, you know, like in the autumn one that you had the video for. And that's that's the only thing while I was making these paintings that I absolutely had to have. I had to have a super, super bright point next to a super, super dark point. That was my goal. And so that's kind of what I'm doing here with that horizon. Yeah, you can use a hairdryer with watercolors. I typically don't like to because watercolor is so delicate. Blow drying it can like push it and scatter it, which if that's the look you're going for is perfect. It's not typically what I go for, so I just kind of, as impatient as I am, I do let it dry on its own. That and my blow dryer doesn't reach. It's on a very short cord and it won't reach over here. Yeah, so Deb says the vignette look makes me think of a cutaway of the earth. Like the part below the horizon is actually what it looks like down underground. And I think that that's part of what I like about it too. It's representing the ground, you know, the flat surface you stand on, but at the same time, it gives you the impression of kind of the depth of the earth. And I do really, really love that, that kind of dichotomy between, you know, the horizontal and the vertical, and, you know, what you stand on versus what's below you, and being able to see an element as both is strange and really cool. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah, Mickey, like I said, you can use a hairdryer. It's just not what I typically like I don't want the paint to move around, and if I'm going to be careful, then I'm just going to let it sit and dry on its own anyway, because I get pretty aggressive with the hairdryer. When I dry my acrylic paintings, it's like right here. Yeah, so that's a good point, Deb. So using a blow dryer on watercolor like that, it could be really similar to the finger painting technique, just kind of nudging it and letting it do what it wants to do. Absolutely. It shouldn't warp the paper. No, I mean, the water being on the paper is really what warps it. I wouldn't think that the hairdryer would warp it or affect that in any way. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And we are getting pretty dry. I feel like this ground, where are we? There. I feel like this ground, I need to get aggressive with it. I don't feel like it's anywhere near what I need it to be. It's too bright and cheerful, and you know me. I'm not into bright and cheerful. Let's go red. I'm going to use, is that what I want? Nope. Yeah, I think that is. Okay, I'm going to use this paint called Anthraquinoid Scarlet. It's a little more orangey. It's a lot more orangey. It's this one right here. And I'm going to get aggressive with it. So I'm going to get a good amount of that. Stick that right there. Get some water in there. Picked up a little whatever those colors are. That's fine. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Now I'm going to put just a hint of that quinacridone back in, because I don't want to lose that, but I just didn't want it to be so beboppy. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. That is feeling much better. What do you think? Is that a little bit closer to what we were going for? I'm going to go for the quinacridone gold rather than the gamboge this time. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to use quinacridone sienna. And I've already got my quinacridone gold on there, so I'll just set that there. And I'll get quinacridone sienna. If you guys are using Daniel Smith and you don't have the quinacridone gold and the quinacridone sienna, you really should get those colors. They're so good. So that's just kind of a mix between the two of them. And this is so much closer to what I wanted, you guys. Let's see, dry my brush off. Nudge those together a little. I like this lighter area, but I don't want it in the center here. So I'm just going to daub it right here. That's where I want that area to be just a hint lighter. Right in there. Get a little bit more of that orange, that kind of red-orange, the anthracnoid. Look how stormy it looks now. Yeah, I like that. Now I'm going to get my amethyst. Again, I'm going to get a good amount of it, nice and heavy. And I'm going to mix it in that sienna mixture here because I'm going to get a nice earthy, dark color for my horizon. Remember, we want a nice dark horizon here. And I'm going to let that horizon bleed into the sky. Clean brush, just water, edge of the brush, and just pull it to get rid of that line. More of my Prussian, actually. I picked up a little Prussian. I'm going to mix it in right here. Just kind of, that's a little bit too green, I think. We'll just grab some of that too. Still a little greener than I want. Throw a bit more of that in there. A little more Prussian. See, guys, just go for it, man. Don't worry about what colors you're mixing. Just start mixing. I just want to put a hint more of this up in the, yeah. Clean brush. I daubed it on the paper towel a little. I'm just breaking up some of these lines. I think that's good. Okay, this needs to dry. That is much closer to what I wanted. See, this is one of the reasons, especially in watercolor, this is one of the reasons I tell you, don't worry about what colors you're using. Don't worry if you're using the same colors I am. Use what you have, because it's just about you being bold and mixing them, just saying, I'm just going for it. I'm just going to do it, you know? It does look much more Jane-ish. Your watercolors aren't this vibrant. What do you think about it, Kelly, is keeping them from being vibrant? Are you maybe, here's some of the things that I could think it would be. You're either using not enough of the paint, you're not really digging in and getting a high concentration of the paint, or are you using colors straight out of the tube? You're not, I don't know that cheap paint really has anything to do with it. I really don't. Maybe one of these days I'll go to the dollar store and grab a cheap little pan set and we'll experiment with that. I think that the more bold you are with just grabbing colors and slapping them together, that gives them much more complexity and makes them a little bit more exciting and vibrant. And that's the main reason, guys, that I don't clean off my palette, you know, because it's, you know, I can get my complex colors by not cleaning off my palette. If I want quinacridone Where am I going to put it on here that I can get solid quinacridone? Nowhere. So I've got to plop it down somewhere, and it's going to pull in one of these other colors. And now it's not just this vibrant tube color of quinacridone. It's a little bit more complex. It's got a little green in it. It maybe has a little brown or a little purple or something in it. And that's what I really, really love, is those real complex colors. Yeah, it could be that you're using too much water and just not picking up enough pigment. So if you're using pans, you know, and you know that that's an issue that you have, before you paint, as you're getting ready, spray down all of them. Just wet every color on there, or get your brush, dunk it in the water, and then squeeze out, here, let me show you. Just squeeze out the drips like that onto each color and let it soak before you use it. And that way, when you go in for it, you're gonna pick up a lot more paint than you typically do, you know, going into a pan that's already dry. But don't be afraid of using too much paint. Keep a paper towel that's slightly damp. And if it's too vibrant, you're like, ooh, that's aggressive, just touch. See how my paper towel's not mushing at all. It's just touching. If you mush, you're gonna pick up a lot of paint. And maybe that's what you wanna do. You know, if it's the wrong color or it's just too much color, then really mush in there and pick up a lot of it. Let's go check this out. I mean, it dries pretty quick. It's super dry here. Okay. I love what's going on in that sky. I love it, love it, love it. I really like what's going on in here. The horizon is not dark enough, but I'm gonna need to let it dry before I can really darken up that horizon, I think, because I guess I could go into a, like, Payne's Gray or something, but I'm worried that that will deaden it, and I don't want to do that, but I might. I do want this spot just a little bit more sunny, and it's getting kind of dry. Maybe I'll throw a little more yellow in here, and let's see what happens. So the yellow I'm going to use is Azo. I'm going to use this bright, kind of lemony Azo color. And I'm just going to kind of just lay that down, wash off my brush, wipe it really good on my paper towel using the edge, and I'm just going to nudge it. It's a little sunnier. Let's get a little more aggressive with it. Yeah. There we go. The sky looks like a photo. Thanks. I really into that sky. The thing I want for you guys, whether you're working in pencil, crayon, watercolor, acrylic, oil, whatever medium it is you're working on, I want you to think beyond blue for the sky. Of course, you want to have a little bit of a blue base to it. But I mean, you saw the colors I was putting in here, browns and reds and greens and everything else. It still looks like a blue sky because you can see the blue in there. So it reads as a sky, but it's also very stormy. It's a little bit more complex. You know, even if I just layer different blues, blue, 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 it's going to be like crayon sky. And I don't want a crayon sky. In the one here, nope, not that one. Hang on. In this one, why did that just happen? The sky it's definitely got the blues in there. And I mean, aside from the vignette, so it has the blue in there, but there's also, the underpainting was like a hot orange, and there's some yellow, I think yellow oxide in there, and raw umber, and, you know, lots of different colors. So yeah, I just want you to think beyond blue. Mickey, you don't think you can leave a messy palette? Oh, it's just the best way. It's the best way. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, the bottom here is about what I want. The sky is completely what I want. I believe I'm done with the sky. It's just this horizon. It's getting there. Maybe it'll be all right. I'm going to go to a smaller brush so I can maybe control it a little bit more. I'm going to go to my number 3. Number 3 round. Maybe I will get... Maybe I will get some Payne's Gray. Which one is Payne's? That one. It's still my Daniel Smith, so I'm going to get some Payne's Gray. I'll drop that down there. I do want to maintain a little flavor of purple in there. So I'm just going to grab a bit of that amethyst and mix it in there. Just run it along the horizon. It's going to soften here because that's still wet, and that's great. Flat. Oh, I don't want to go flat on my brush yet. Clean, just water, nudge it. Just some Payne's. I think I gotta let that dry before I can do it. It's picking up too much of the color that's not wet, or that's not dry, and creating breaks in there. So maybe I will let it dry a bit, and then we'll come back to it. Should I go ahead and add my subject? I already know what I want my subject to be. Oh. Hang on. I'm going to drop in a heavy amount of paint, just kind of touching. It's very, very wet there. Very, very heavy. Try and let it spread just a bit. It might be too dry. Probably should have done that before. All right. Drips are good. Yeah, don't overwork, you guys. I know that overworking is a thing. I know that it's super easy. It's so easy to overwork. You know, one of the things that I do is, rather than overworking, is if I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, I have no clue, then I just walk away. Just walk away. Let's do our subject. I'm going to go to my number 0. My number 0 round. And I'm going to get... I think, didn't I buy oh, there it is. Yeah, I just didn't label it. I got some, like, actual black from Daniel Smith. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that. But I'm going to mix it here because I don't want it to be too aggressively black. Can you see what's going on? Okay. I'm going to kind of push, wiggle back and forth a little. And there's our little subject. Yeah, you don't need expensive paper. Expensive paper is nice, but not necessary. I am gonna just kind of suck up a tiny bit of that paint there. People, yep, our little carrot people. I love carrot people. All right, I'm gonna get some solid black. And I'm just nudging it into that horizon. I don't want it to appear black. Just darken it. Let's darken up the vignette in the sky on that one side. That kind of got away from me a little. Oh, the last part. Trying to dry that real quick. We'll let that dry for a second. Is that me and Vince? I don't know, maybe. Those people are kind of small. They're a little potato-y. Oh, sorry, you guys probably don't want to watch that. That's just going to make you super dizzy. So there. Let's dry this off a tiny bit more before we do the last part, and then I feel like it's about done. Watching a tornado approach? I don't think so. I feel like they're heading into the future together. All right, I think it's going to spread a little bit, but it'll be okay. Wet brush, getting my, whatever that red is that I said it was, anthracanoid. Drop it there, little quinacridone. And some of that's going to spread a little more than others. There. Yay! It is something positive and uplifting. I feel like it is. I like it. What do you guys think? Like it? A little simple color field in watercolor. Yeah. So what questions do you guys have about anything that we talked about? You know, color fields or layering or watercolor, color theory, anything like that. Thank you, everyone. I think so my secret, I know a lot of you think, oh, it's magic, or it's, you know, whatever it is that you guys say whenever I've impressed you. My secret toward doing things like this is really acting with confidence. You know, if you act with confidence, that will help you be confident. Yes, more flicky bits. I love flicky bits. So act with confidence, move with confidence. It doesn't mean that you have to pretend like you know what you're doing. I'm not pretending like I know what I'm doing. I make a decision and I go with it without considering what the consequences of that decision could be. What I'm about to do could be horribly ugly, but if so, that's okay. What I'm about to do could be super awesome, and that's okay. You know, I'm not letting myself ride the highs of something turning out good, and I'm not letting myself, you know, get down in the dumps about something not turning out good. I'm just making a decision and accepting what happens. And ultimately, if I'm like, I don't like that, I just put it aside. I don't, get upset about it. I just put it aside and try something else. If you're afraid of overworking something, then just stop. Just stop. That's the easiest way to not overwork something, is to just stop. Hello, Lindsay. You popped in just in time for a good rant. It's really about being patient with yourself and about being gentle with yourself, really. If you're going to beat yourself up, then I would rather have you not paint than beat yourself up, because beating yourself up you're really just making life harder on yourself, and that's not a good thing, and I don't want that for you guys. You should be painting in order to fulfill something in yourself. That's what art should be. It's not about making a great painting that's going to wow everybody. It's really not even about making a great painting that you're going to be wowed by. It's about spending time on yourself to say, this is something that I want to do and I'm going to enjoy it, and then doing it and not worrying about whether the outcome is good or not, And I find, for me personally, the more often I am not concerned with the outcome of a painting, the more often I'm pleased with the outcome of a painting. I think that's one of the reasons that I have so many paintings on my wall for this month. It's not because I'm so good, it's because I worked with that attitude. And I certainly did not hang every painting I did this month. There were paintings I scrapped. There were paintings I started over. There were paintings I gave away because I didn't like. There's paintings that I just didn't hang because I don't feel like they're good enough or fit in with everything. But none of those, failures upset me or got me down or made me feel like I wasted my time or my materials. It just was what it was. And I just moved on from it and put my energies back into doing something else that I would potentially like. Sometimes I love the middle part of a painting and I don't want to mess it up. Then maybe it's done. Maybe it's done. But also, if you did it once, you can do it again. There certainly have been paintings. There was a painting the other day. I was kind of doing like some cloudy looking things, and I had done these clouds in Naples yellow, and they were very, very simple, but they were effective. And suddenly, like, this voice, not like a real voice, not like that, but it's like pink, pink. And it was like practically screaming, pink, put some pink in there. And I was like, yes, pink. So I got some pink and I put pink in the clouds and I was like, yes. And then I loved it and it was exactly what I wanted to see. And the whole thing just fell apart. And that one got painted over and I just moved on. And I remember Naples yellow with the pink is a good thing. And I'm going to pick that up again and use that again at some point. But if you let fear stop you at any point in the creative process, it's just going to stop you, and you won't move on from there. You'll always have this painting that's halfway done that you wish you could finish and you won't be happy with it. I'd rather ruin a painting that I'm liking than not paint, not continue on it. But I don't know. I feel like things like that come with experience, because I've certainly been in that point too, Debbie, where I'm like, oh, but I really like this and I'm really afraid to continue. Being afraid to continue means you're not going to continue. So just let it go. You can do it again. You can always do it again. Yeah, Debbie, that's me too. I have to be able to create. I have to be able to experiment. I have to be able to just do, So that's what's important for me. So anyway, that's my rant. I guess I ranted you guys all into slumber. You're all asleep now and she's still talking. Anyway, good, Tammy. I'm glad it was a helpful pep talk for you. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? Anything else? Whatever? I mean, if not, I'm probably going to go home and go to bed because I'm still wiped out from yesterday. But we are going to do a jam session tomorrow. And we're going to watch the finger painting video and go over that. I will be set up for demos. We're going to do all of that. So I hope that you will be here with me tomorrow. We'll do that at 4 my time, like we typically do for the jam session. Good, you guys. I'm glad that that was good advice for you. And I know that I fully understand that it's easier said than done. Trust me. I know. I'm like, no, just do it. And you're like, easier said than done. But if you can, get up the courage to just do it, like I say, I think once you cross that hurdle, you'll be like, okay, it's not as scary. It's not as bad to ruin a painting that you're liking. It's not as bad to, push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And it will get a little bit easier every time you do it. So I get that. I do need to recharge my batteries. No pizza. Ugh, we had pizza last night. I do need tea. Oh, yeah, I probably should put cucumbers on my puffy eyes, huh? All right, you guys. Well, I'm going to go. I will get a picture of this and post it in Discord. As soon as it's completely dry. And I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. And I love you all so much. You're all my very favorites. And I will see you tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody.